Well, hello everyone. How are you? Good to see you, as it were. Today is what is today? April 15th, 2025. Thought I'd jump on here today and do a quick little video. A lot of crazy stuff happening right now. If you're any kind of a participant in the Great Awakening for the last 4 to 7 years, depending on when you kind of fell into that, or what they now call the Great Awakening. Some of us have been around for a little while longer, but you know that one of the big things is narrative changes, narrative shifts, spinning narratives. So when you see a lot of stuff happening around a certain subject or a certain area or a combination of both, the old spidey sense starts tingling and you start thinking, nah, there's got to be something behind this. There's the reason why it's happening now and wasn't happening 4 years ago or even a year ago for that matter. Um, So we're going to dive into, as you can see from the title, we're going to dive into the Denver airport. I know, right? So I may sneeze today too, just FYI. It's that time of year. Trees are budding, flowers are blooming, pollen's falling. My nose is stuffed. So anyway, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining me. And if you don't know who I am, my name's John Hogston, also known as Mighty Hog. Some of the new followers have I've been getting some questions about the Cars, Guitars, and Mars thing, and I thought that was a good idea because it would cover a lot of bases, but apparently that was confusing more people than it was helping. So I just changed the channel again, and hopefully this time it sticks, and hopefully there's not a lot of confusion. So it's just basically a play on my name. It's been a nickname of mine since I was a kid, since middle school. So Mighty Hog. Mighty Hog is the name of the show. There may be a segment called Hogwash, which uh, I may try to debunk some things here and there. And so, anyway, I hope the hogwash thing or the Mighty Hog thing is going to make sense to you, and because that's where I'm going to stick. I mean, that's going to stick with something with my name. So hopefully you guys like it. Um, and thank you for those of you that followed over from Carry the Day, from Exploring the Matrix, and from Dolores Show, or from YouTube from the last Purge. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the comments. Um, I do have a lot of ideas for shows, thanks to the comments, directions I may not have gone in before, like the Edgar Casey thing. Um, that's something I'm working on now. I'm doing a little bit of research. It's not, that one's going to be a little deeper dive, so it's taking a little longer. But the Denver airport is, it seems ever since it was built, it's been a center of controversy and conspiracy, ever since it opened. This was it's started, I think it was construction was 1993, and it went 2 years over, $2 billion over budget. Um, and why was it built in the first place? Denver already had a fully functioning airport downtown. Um, it if you haven't learned anything or seen anything about Denver Airport and kind of the conspiracies around it, whether they're true or not, obviously they're called conspiracies, but a lot of us conspiracy theorists have been more right than wrong over the last few years. So, where there's smoke, there's fire, as it were. So Denver in general, or Colorado in general, seems to be a one of those places that has been getting a lot of attention and not in a good way. Um, as far as corruption and that kind of thing, Satanism, you name it, it's kind of been at the center of it. You've got good old NORAD in Colorado. NORAD's about, I want to say 90 miles ish south of the Denver area. Denver Airport specifically. So I'm going to talk about a couple things and then I'm going to show some videos. So this show's probably not going to be super long, maybe half an hour. And that's kind of where I want to keep the wheelhouse of these programs. I want to keep them around a half an hour, unless I have a guest or something, and then that's a whole different story. As always, use your own discernment. You don't have to believe anything I show you, tell you, whatever. Do your own research. We always say that. I do this because I like doing it. I think it's fun. I'm very open-minded. I'm not pigeonholed into any particular concepts or ideas or narratives. I kind of sit at the 40,000-foot view and look down at things. That includes religion and other things, which will come down the road because I am working on several projects, one of which is a book and a couple other smaller projects, which will turn into shows, but they all have to deal with ancient Hebrew, the authors of the Bible, and some of that stuff. And I know some of you are not, it's not going to be your thing, and it's going to push some buttons probably, but I've been down this rabbit hole and this path for a long time, and it's kind of coming to a head now. And I feel like I need to get it out into the world, as it were. And if you want to maybe do a little pre-research before I get into those topics, you can watch Paul Wallace, The Fifth Kind, on YouTube, and look up Mauro Bellino or Beglino, however you pronounce his name. He's used to be an interlinear translator for the Vatican, and those two gentlemen have single-handedly opened my mind to a whole new way of thinking and a whole new world over the last few years. And so, anyway, with that being said, thank you so much for being here. I hope this is entertaining for you at least. And please, by all means, do not be afraid to leave comments. They do help kind of guide the show, kind of guide the content that I do. So anyway, enough talk. So again, going to talk about a few things, and I'm going to show some videos that kind of support what I talk about and just kind of reiterate what I talk about. Some of the videos may have duplicate information in them, but that's how the old TikTok world works. And, there's just so many duplications. You might find a new nugget of information, but a lot of the other information is duplicated. So, okay, moving on. So we've established that 1993, it was decided that, hey, let's build a gigantic airport in Denver, even though we have a fully functioning nice airport in the center of Denver or downtown Denver. Let's spend some money. So 2 years over budget, $2 billion over budget. I say 2 years time longer than they expected. And by they, I'll just use the royal they, like we've been using the last 4 years, basically the people that pull the strings and everything. So that's who I mean by they. It's interesting because for me, when you're going to an airport and you're going to go air traveling, a lot of people are okay with traveling on a plane. It doesn't bother them. They do it a lot. Others may do it, but they may still have in the back of their head some fears or some things they're not too comfortable with. And the Denver airport does not help with that. Like when you pull up to the airport, there's a gigantic, I think it's a 30-foot statue of a blue stallion, a blue horse. And you'll see that in some of the videos here. And of all names, it's called Blucifer. Not the blue stallion, not whatever, Blucifer. So the artist who was constructing it originally, apparently he died because one of the pieces of the horse, when he was working on it, fell on him and killed him instantly. So yeah, no, not foreboding or anything, but whoever was helping him continued on and they finished it and they placed it. It kind of reminds me of CERN when, with the statue of Shiva out front. Nothing says like nothing to hide or cool collected. We're not, doing anything unusual like the statue of Shiva, the destructor, whatever Shiva's um, name is, moniker or whatever. So another interesting thing about the construction of the airport too, which I don't know if a lot of people know, but the people in charge of the construction kept hiring and firing crews because they never wanted any one crew or one person to know the entire map, the entire layout of the airport. It's rumored to have 5 levels, 6 levels underneath the airport, tunnels, that kind of thing. But again, to me, where there's smoke, there's fires. Like nothing says we're not trying to hide anything. Like, well, you did your part. Now it's just like the military or these black budget, you know, segments of the government, these clandestine groups. Like nobody has very few people have full knowledge of the full scope of what's happening. Everything else is compartmentalized, and that's kind of how the construction was with this particular airport. Um, there was also a time capsule buried there in 1995, I believe. It was either 94 or 95. I think it was 95, the year it was finished. And it's not to be opened until 2094. And that's quite a ways away. That's not unless something changes medically, that's outside of my lifespan probably. But if you're collecting Social Security, like what's been uncovered by Doge, and you're 115 years or 130 years old for the last 20, 30 years, then maybe, who knows, could happen, I guess. So, but anyway, it's not supposed to be open until 2094. So who knows what's in there? Are there any secrets about the airport or its construction? The meaning behind its construction, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of empty space under Denver Airport. Denver Airport is massive. It's like it's bigger than, I want to say, San Francisco, Miami, Manhattan. It's massive. It is a massive airport. And underground is equally as massive, from my understanding. And again, this is all speculation and secondhand knowledge, but there's a lot of that secondhand knowledge. There are some videos out there that say they're, with the Denver tunnels, blah, 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 but they're not. And, looking at some of these videos, I've seen them in the past, and they're actually salt mines from like Yugoslavia or Serbia or someplace in Western Europe. So those videos where it looks like they're standing and walking in these big cavernous, tunnel areas, mines, whatever. Excuse me. It is exactly that. It's an antimine salt mine over in Western Europe. So, but there's this big, massive luggage system that's underground, under the airport. Some of it is being used, but the bulk of it is not being used. It's almost as if it were built as a cover for something else, because it literally is not being used. Again, we'll get to that. You'll see that in some of the videos and some of the speculation. And so what the mainstream narrative and what they will try and tell you is that the underground facility that people have shown as empty is for baggage. It's like you'll see that. I can't emphasize that enough because there's just something weird about it. And to me, it's usually a distraction. Obviously, when somebody does something or says something and you're like, "Hey, squirrel, it's for luggage, don't look over here, and don't pay attention to all the guards and all the people that will tell you that you're not allowed in a lot of these areas, and they know what you're doing there. They really know what you're doing. So And you'll see in some of these videos, we'll see some of that. Um, but again, in most cases, where there's smoke, there's fire. And as conspiracy theorists, I wear that hat proudly. We've been right way more than we've been wrong, especially over the last 4 years. We've been almost 100% right. So, and now we've got time to dig into stuff like this. And hopefully we get to find out more with all the other revelations happening around the world, especially with the Khafra pyramid over in Egypt, that whole Giza plateau, um, a lot of the orb situation, and on TikTok, which is funny, we'll get into that too. You can't even use, like, you can't say orb, or you can't use orb or drone or anything like that whole situation, especially when it started in New Jersey and just kept going with this crazy fog and that kind of stuff. TikTok has been banning and taking out videos that have been using the words orb or, that kind of thing, UFO, whatever. So a trend has started, like, you have to use these code words now. And one of the biggest code word or code words is Dior bags. So like DIOR, Dior bags. So whenever you see or use the like hashtag or use the search for the term Dior bags, you'll get the videos that have the orbs flying over certain areas. And I do have some videos of them over the Denver area, some over the airport, some not. New York, New Jersey, you name it, South America, they're all over the place. So again, that's part of that whole idea of creating narratives, pushing narratives, or trying to take your attention away from something else. There's just a lot of mass revelation happening right now, not only in the world of human trafficking and sex trafficking and that kind of stuff, but corrupt politicians and other things. So I think a lot of these things are popping up now to try to get people to pay less attention to stuff like that. Again, just an opinion. It just seems like it's a really strange coincidence that it just started very recently, and the time frame just doesn't seem to add up. Like, it doesn't stand on its own, if you know what I mean. So with like the tunnels, if you follow anybody over the last 4 years, like there's like G&D code and others. Again, I don't necessarily believe or agree with what some of these people are presenting, but there are some interesting things with the deep underground military bases and the idea of a intercontinental railway and tunnel system. I do believe that is one thing I do wholeheartedly believe, that there is some kind of a tunnel system, at least in the United States and around parts of the world. And I don't know if they interconnect continentally or across the ocean, but who knows? I don't know. So that leads to a whole nother set of questions if they're interconnected, especially with secret projects, secret military projects, or reverse engineering of UFO technology, or UAP as they like to call it now. That would provide some cover, if you had for lack of a better phrase, a Stargate system or tunnel system underground, especially with the proximity to NORAD and like Area 51 out west. That whole idea of the secret experiments on alien technology. So that would lend some credence to the tunnel system, and could also possibly be, this has been discussed, could possibly be doomsday bunkers for the elite. These people, since they can manipulate what's happening around the world, and they control what's happening around the world, and they control the narrative, or at least they're trying to still control the narrative. I think the Great Awakening is kind of preventing that now. Maybe these are areas where if something happens and they're overthrown, or people find out too much, they can retreat to their underground cities or their tunnels or wherever these slimy reptilians want to live, I guess. So that's one theory too. is that they're doomsday bunkers and a way to still hang out with their buds, their reptilian buds around the world. And the biggest thing, and this is a reality, tunnels have always been used and are still being used for human trafficking. Human trafficking being the largest form of currency in the world. And thankfully, that has all come to light over the last few years. And thankfully, there's arrests being made every day. And a lot of these people, it's just like a domino effect. It's bringing down the whole house of cards, as it were. So, you've got the doomsday bunker trafficking, tunnels. We talked about the military operation possibility, hidden aircraft, hidden technology, a Stargate transportation system instead of a railway system of some kind, or a levitation, maglev kind of train system. Who knows? But in a lot of these areas where there seems to be a lot of smoke and mirrors, cloak and dagger kind of thing, always seems to be these orbs, these UAPs, and I'm sure some of them are drones, because now that drones are popular, I'm sure people are getting creative with their use. I think also find it interesting that Rand Paul voted against a bill that would allow people to track these drones or to identify the people using the drones if they end up being drones. I just find that interesting. Anyway, that was a side note, obviously. So there's a lot of unknown orbs and aircraft lights and other weird just things happening over Denver, in the Denver skies, and New York, New Jersey, all over the place. We've just mentioned that before. But the Dior bags, I think that's kind of a sad state of what's going on right now. It's just it's funny because I like saying Dior bags. I think that's kind of funny that it's like a secret handshake to a club or something, but it is what it is, Okay, so on with the videos. Let's find some videos for y'all. Okay, so what video should I play first? Usually I have an idea of what order I want to play these, but as I talk, sometimes I touch on information in some of the videos and I don't need to necessarily show the videos, but I am going to do that in this case. So, all right, let's share some media here. All right, so hope you can see that. At least on my screen, it looks like it's So anyway, first video. Maybe if I could hit the play button here. Hold on a second. It's one thing if you use EVMux. It's one thing if you're developers, if you're watching this, if you have an element over by where the play button is, even if it's on a layer below it, it doesn't want you or want to let you click on the play button because the binding box for see how I'm on the lower left corner there? Well, the play button is on the bottom left by that. So when I try to click it, it actually wants to go to the binding box and not the play button. I know that's kind of crazy.
Today we're exploring all over the Denver airport to see if the rumors are actually true. Once we got off the flight, we put our disguises on and started looking around. The first thing I noticed was this weird gargoyle, and it actually did talk. Then we went to check out the airport's creepy blue Mustang, and within seconds of arriving, we were told that we had to leave immediately. And when we went back inside, we saw these construction workers walk inside this room, but we couldn't see inside, so we managed to walk upstairs to get a better look, and that's when it looked like whatever they were working on was this staircase that went straight underground. A little while later, we saw another worker go inside this tram, so we followed him, and after a while, people started getting off, and I was the only one left inside. It was really
All right, I want to say something that I forgot that was in my notes about the air travel and being about being nervous, that kind of stuff, and seeing Blucifer, even waiting for your flight. There were different murals originally, and now there's another set of murals currently in the airport, but they're all like kind of apocalyptic or they're kind of evil, kind of sadistic, whatever you want to call it, all over the airport. And you'll see in some of these videos, you'll see like that alligator with the construction worker hat, basically making I think it's their way of making fun of us by telling us that we know you know, but nobody's going to believe you, kind of thing. So you'll see those murals, and some of these murals, I cannot believe that people have never just like WTF, what are you do why what would prompt you to actually put this in a public place? All right, so continuing on.
Really weird because I started seeing all these other entryways to the tunnel, which just doesn't make sense to have for an airport tram. And right as I got off, I had two officers waiting for me that knew exactly what I was up to.
Getting into the tunnels. They're saying they think you're going to breach the tunnel. The tunnel's for luggage only. Okay. That's all it's for is luggage. It's not very interesting. There's no secret tunnel like that.
Apparently the underground tunnels are used just to transport luggage, so we got in our flight and went back home. And that's when we realized that we still had our hidden luggage camera that was recording the entire time.
Yeah, this dude, he tried several times to put a hidden camera in his luggage to see and had it, face up. And he actually put stickers or directions to make sure that the luggage was facing a certain direction. And he tried to make it so it wasn't obvious there was a secret camera on there because he wanted to see where his luggage was going. And you'll see in a couple of videos here, you'll see that he gets his luggage back and there's no camera on it. And it got lost, and he gets it a few days later. But this particular time, the camera stayed with it, and I don't know that that video ever surfaced because a lot of these videos and a lot of these people, their accounts have been taken down and the videos have been taken down. So it's hard to find the original video. Like you have to. I know the interwebs doesn't forget, but some of these, if they don't want you to find it, you can't find it. And I'm still looking for some of them. So just bear that in mind. So let's try another vid. Do, 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 do. Do, do, do.
What are they hiding in the Denver airport? Denver airport has been at the center of controversy and conspiracy ever since it opened. From the giant blue horse nicknamed Blucifer to its swastika design runway, it's as if the airport is trying to hide something in plain sight. Originally, it was scheduled to be open in 1993, but it was delayed by 2 years and ran over budget by more than $2 billion. It was reported that the delay was caused by people who were in charge when they kept hiring and firing contractors, keeping the full layout of the airport a secret. Furthermore, it was reported that there were at least 6 different underground levels and 5 actual buildings sitting under the airport. However, it remains heavily guarded, and the true purpose of these facilities remain unknown. But perhaps the strangest thing is that when you enter the airport, you can find a plaque that reads the New World Airport Commission. However, if you go look it up, it doesn't exist. With all that said, many people are wondering.
Yeah, it's weird about some of these TikTok videos. It's like they have an automated whatever, and they just cut them off. But you can see Blucifer there, and that's kind of a famous picture. It's like a storm happening in the background there, lightning and stuff like that. And it's rearing up, and it's blue, and it's all veiny and everything, and it's got red glowing eyes. And I forgot to mention the swastika shaped taxiways and runways. Like if you look at it from the air, it looks like a gigantic swastika. And some of the murals that they had have a Nazi theme to them. Anyway, interesting stuff. All right, so next.
Not me accidentally finding the Denver airport back rooms. Like, this shit just keeps going on and on. The ceilings are all so low. Like, what the hell? Okay. And it keeps going. Yo, where the fuck am I? Like, okay, this says that there's a gate right there, but there's literally nothing right here. This airport is just so fucking weird.
I agree. It is effing weird. Let's see here. Next video. Oh, this is the kid with the camera in the bag again. He had a series of these. I think it was like 3 of them. Oh, come on.
This is my hidden luggage camera, and after starting the recording and checking in the suitcase, I eventually made it off the flight, and that's when my luggage was nowhere to be found. The airline told me that it never made its way on the plane, and 3 days later, it was finally delivered to me. So I went through the footage, and although I had a sign clearly saying which side was up, the suitcase was flipped over, making the footage completely unusable. But since I'm dedicated to the series, I decided to book another flight and try this again. I just checked the bag in, and the camera's facing the right way, so stay tuned.
Yeah, some of these rabbit holes you go down, like the YouTube rabbit hole was the big thing. Now it's the TikTok rabbit hole. I find some of the videos on TikTok are just hilarious, and there, a lot of people just steal other people's content and just put themselves in it and put their own text over it or whatever. And they just, anything that got a lot of views, they just kind of remake it, and it's just funny because you see the obligatory people doing like this kind of thing or like this kind of thing or like, just it's almost like its own culture, it's interesting. It's like brain rot.
Denver International Airport is the most monstrous conspiracy theory. I don't know whether to start with the fact that it's twice the size of Boston, Miami, and San Francisco, or that every several months during construction they switched contractors so that no one knows the full layout of the airport. Not to mention there's at least 5 buildings that they decided to bury, and there's potentially hundreds of underground bunkers. So I'll just start it off simply with the terrifying artwork in this airport. Denver Airport welcomes you with this inviting 32-foot, 9,000-pound statue of this demonic horse with red eyes nicknamed Lucifer. This possessed statue essentially murdered its creator when a piece of it fell off during construction and severed its artery. A lot of people believe that it represents one of the 4 horsemen who will usher in the apocalypse, which seems far-fetched until you see the artwork they have in the Denver airport. What better way to get in the mood for a flight than to walk past this mural of a soldier stabbing a dove holding a rifle standing over unconscious children? The gas mask and decaying city are also a nice touch. My phone is rebelling because it was supposed to update months ago and I keep putting it off, so it won't let me post the second even more terrifying picture, but I'll post it tomorrow along with even crazier stuff.
Crazier and crazier.
The Denver airport.
Ooh, yes, let's go.
They used to have these murals put up, but they have since taken it down because it got just way too much like, what the heck am I looking at? I'm just going to describe some of the things that were in these murals.
Oh, no.
Huge. This is terrible.
Okay.
This was in the airport.
Kids would have seen this.
Yes, everyone would have seen this.
Got it, okay.
Children in coffins.
Oh my gosh.
A forest and a city on fire. A child holding a Mayan tablet depicting the end of the world.
Nice.
What?
Wearing a gas mask.
What?
Okay.
Holding a sword that was stabbing a dove.
Not tasteful.
There was a mural of the children all over the world who had killed the Nazi, and they're bringing their weapons wrapped in their country's flag to a little German boy.
Why?
Who was at the center of it with a hammer.
What?
Can we just
like a
paint
hammer, like a communism?
Yeah.
When you tell these stories,
This is so terrible. But the one with the Nazi, it was showing like people that were like starving, and there was a woman holding her deceased baby.
Oh my gosh, this
That's
is
what I'm
horrible.
saying.
This
Like, why is this in the airport?
You're in Colorado. Draw some mountains, buddy.
I like that. You're in Colorado. Johnson Mountains, man. I mean, right? Really? But they instead chose stuff like that. I mean, seriously.
Did anybody see the video that was going viral this past week of a worker that apparently had clearance to access certain parts of these tunnels that he was showing off on video? Probably not smart, but tunnels of which he showed being clearly underneath the airport. I mean, he showed himself walking into the airport and then eventually walking through numerous hallways of which he gained clearance into, and then he took an elevator down below, which seemed like levels down below, might I mention, and he proceeded to walk through this other hallway. And when he walked outside of the door at the end of this hallway, he showed these vast tunnel systems. I mean, these seem to have stretched out for well over a mile. It looked like you can even drive a fucking semi through them. It's actually crazy because on his video, you can actually see numerous individuals passing by him, some even wearing these full black suits. I mean, these things look like mining tunnels. And then he proceeded to talk about something, which is probably why his video just so happened to be taken down. He proceeded to speak about these aircraft that he claimed were hidden down below in various sections throughout these tunnels. He started mentioning how there's certain individuals apparently that have high security clearance, that have access to those certain parts of the tunnels and shit. He even started to talk about Stargate and proceeded to talk about how apparently...
Yet another one that got cut off. Gotta love TikTok, man. Let's see. I think this one's a little on the longer side, but it's kind of worth it because it combines a lot of the stuff we've already discussed. And of course, it's from our fellows over at Hat's Truth. If you've seen any of their videos.
Denver, Colorado is home to America's largest airport called the Denver New World Airport. The airport was built by Freemasons in 1995 and features a Freemasonic dedication capstone in the atrium. A time capsule is buried underneath the stone to be opened in the year 2094. The New World Denver Airport has a swastika-shaped runway. There is reportedly a deep underground military base beneath the airport, with miles and miles of secret subterranean tunnels connected to a large network of underground cities. As passengers drive up to the main airport terminal, they are greeted by a sinister-looking 32-foot-high fiberglass blue stallion with veins popping out of its body and demonic eyes that glow bright red. Not exactly a calming influence for travelers who are already spooked about getting on a plane. The sculpture is believed to symbolize the pale horse of the apocalypse mentioned in the Bible, whose name is Death. The sculptor, Luis Jimenez, was killed by the horse when a chunk of the sculpture broke loose and came crashing down on him. Locals call the horse Lucifer. Inside the airport, travelers hurry past grotesque gargoyles in suitcases that leer down at them and morbid apocalyptic murals that line the airport walls at the main gate. 4 panels of giant-sized wall murals in the baggage claim area tell a terrifying and prophetic story in pictures of how humanity's future is going to unfold. The first mural reveals a horrific Darth Vader-like figure wearing a Nazi general uniform and a gas mask. The gas mask indicates that the next war will use depopulating biological or chemical agents. The white dove that he is killing symbolizes peace. On the right are destroyed buildings reminiscent of the Twin Towers. The Nazi general scimitar's sword has been swished through the air, leaving behind a rainbow chemtrail that poisons the air and ethnic population below it. On the left is an endless line of weeping women refugees holding dead babies. There is no trace whatsoever of violence to the dead children, who appear to have died from the deadly gas of the toxic rainbow. Why are there no men present? Presumably, they have all been killed. The Nazi general's scimitar's sword that destroys peace is a symbol used by the Shriners, who are Freemasons. Freemasonry is a fraternity within a fraternity. Outwardly, it is a friendly charitable organization that conceals an inner brotherhood of the 33rd degree elect. The next airport mural shows a forest and a city in flames. The world's endangered animals and plants are extinct: buffaloes, whales, leopards, elephants, and sea turtles. The sickly haze and leaping flames suggest a nuclear or biochemical devastation. Children are the only survivors, and they are weeping over 3 open caskets of an African girl on the left, a native girl in the center, and a white Judeo-Christian girl on the right. They represent the death of the old black, red, and white root races to make way for the New World race. The dead white girl in the coffin holds a Bible and a yellow Juden star, which was used by the Nazis to identify Jews. It symbolizes the death of Judeo-Christian beliefs. Another child holds a Mayan tablet depicting the end of the Mayan calendar and the end of the world as we know it. In the third mural, the apocalyptic war has ended. Children of all nations are joyfully giving up their nation's sovereignty to the blonde-haired, blue-eyed German boy at the center. They are all turning over their weapons wrapped in their country's national flag to the German boy. The Bavarian jacket leaves no doubt whatsoever that the blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy is German. He symbolizes the Bavarian Illuminati. With an iron fist, the German boy destroys the weapons of war symbolized by the Nazi general's sword. The German boy uses a hammer, which symbolizes the hammer and sickle of communism. In the foreground, the Nazi general is dead, with doves of peace perched on his corpse. The German boy symbolizes a world leader and savior who brings peace through communism to a devastated world. Who is this boy that the world gives up their flags and weapons to? We know he is German, with blonde hair and blue eyes, like Prince William, who posed as a boy for this Papua New Guinea stamp. Prince William's father is the son of Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth, whose surnames were changed to cover up their German identities. Prince William's mother, Diana, was allegedly the daughter of James Goldsmith, a German Jew. In the fourth mural, the earth is restored, including the endangered species, the land, and water. This future world is populated not by adults, but by parentless children. What happened to the adults? The children are in a dance line that is led by the Scottish boy, who symbolizes Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Also, on the far left is an African woman carrying a snake banner. The parentless children of the world are celebrating the New World religion as they gather around and touch the light of Lucifer, who appears as a genetically engineered plant. The plant is a floral version of the colorful bird known as the Quetzalcoatl, or feathered serpent. It is symbolically inseparable from the morning star and Lucifer. The main theme of the Denver New World Airport murals is an apocalypse, with massive depopulation, extinction of species, the death of Judeo-Christian beliefs, and the birth of one world government, one world ruler, and one world religion.
Sound familiar? Sound like anything anybody was attempting over the last 4 years or 7 years or however long it's been? Probably longer than that, but yeah. So, and that's all involving the Denver airport. We're still talking about the Denver airport, and that's craziness to me. Here's a little video on the Dior bags, at least an introduction to the idea of it anyway.
I don't want to have to use the word Dior bags to discuss what's happening in my own backyard. This is insanity. We can't even use the words that they used to start the conversation. We have to use this weird coded language. This is so wildly frustrating. I made one single video about these goddamn Dior bags and the Atlantic Ocean and completely nuked my account. Most people go about their days not even knowing that these giant Dior bags exist, and yet somehow in this little world that we find ourselves in, we've been fast-tracked from being the only people aware of it and talking about it to now not being even allowed to use the words to describe it that they used. And it's not like it's some giant mystery or secret. These things are right in front of us. They are invading our personal space, and it is not like it's some mystery or secret. People have been talking about this issue for decades. I myself have seen these Dior bags for years with my own two eyes. And if you want to know what's actually going on with this stuff, just look it up. Just Google it. Find the people who have been disclosing this information for years. Look up Dr. Stephen Greer. He has been very vocal in very plain language, very specific about what is going on. Well before all this stuff took off and the Dior bags have become a prominent thing that no one is allowed to talk about anymore, apparently. It's all out there for you to find and research and see with your own two eyes.
This whole thing tying in with that, with what we were talking about earlier, it all feels Project Bluebeam-ish. If you go back on this channel, I believe towards the beginning, you'll see a video on Project Bluebeam. And if you don't, just do some research about Project Bluebeam. And I kind of think a lot of this is leading towards that idea or that premise. And part of the premise behind Project Bluebeam is to get people accepting of something so it's more believable when it happens, but they control the exposure. Like it's a fake event. They lead you to believe it's a real thing. And because look at how much is happening right now with it and being disclosed about it. And it gets their juices flowing. It gets their belief systems going. You know, the whole thing, or part of Project Bluebeam, or the idea behind it, is having all these discoveries happen, you know, like archaeological finds and discoveries, scientific discoveries, and these otherworldly kind of alien / whatever UFO / orb kind of things happening. It's another way to try and manipulate the population. It's another form of control. So when you have enough, especially in certain countries like South American countries or even Asian countries, where they're very prone to religious beliefs, or having their beliefs changed because of something significant that happened in their life. And again, look up cargo cults, for example, like primitive minds anyway, and primitive people. Imagine, landing an airplane in their midst and giving them all these exotic things like processed foods or packaged foods and clothes and other things. That would leave a lasting impression. And in some cases, in some of these cultures, this has happened, and they worship, like they'll make images of the airplane, and they'll worship the people that came from the airplane or came out of the airplane as gods. And so when you build up this narrative, where you build up a lot of these finds, or these again, technological or archaeological finds, and you start building this believability, if it's out there enough and you say it enough, eventually people start to give it some credence. And with the idea now that it's a taboo subject, like you can't use certain words, you can't post certain videos, it just makes people want to do it more. So it's like they're baiting the hook. You're like, okay, these guys they're dug in now, they're on the hook, we're reeling them in now. And so the next phase of something like that would be an actual encounter with another race or another intelligence, or even a deity for that matter, and using that to control the world. So control the world population, saying that, well, this being or these beings or these people, they are taking control. Um, we have no control over it. We can't. We don't. We. You know, they're too powerful. They're too advanced. So we have to listen to them. We have to follow their one world religion or their whatever control that happens to be. So just be aware that that's the kind of narrative that can be spun very easily, especially with technology now. So just again, use your own discernment and use your own mind. And if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. I'm kind of just reading the tea leaves. I'm just presenting stuff to get your mind thinking about some things. So if you see a narrative start to form, you can kind of see it happening in real time. So anyway, I'm not saying that's what's happening. It could actually be legit what's happening, and we just don't know what it is. Well, some people I'm sure know what it is, but interesting times. Again, timing is just, it's interesting to me that all this stuff is happening. And so I think the next couple, 3 videos, however many, will be the last ones. And these all involve Dior bags and some videos over Denver and the Denver area. And I think they're interesting, actually. Some of them, I'm sure, in some of the areas are probably drones, but some of them, not so much.
So after about a week or two, we finally got our first orb, and there's a plane flying above it. Been waiting for about a week. It's been foggy, snowy, couldn't really see much, and on the clear nights there really wasn't any activity at all. Now we got one. It's crazy, they always appear in this direction.
I apologize if the audio's low on some of these. That's just how they were when I downloaded them. All right, so that's video number 1 of the Dior bags. It's just funny to say. I like saying it. Dior bags. Okay.
So that one I just showed y'all, that's right here. I'm sitting outside, right? Boom, 2 of them. Right there. Ignore that third one at the bottom, that's just a street light. I'm pretty sure. But these?
Again, I think all these orbs, drones, whatever they end up being, these UAPs, whatever, all over the world, and especially more concentrated in certain areas. I just find the timing of it interesting.
It's crazy. Now there's 4 of them. I'm just watching them pop up. This big old circle. And then there's one
in the January 3rd video, the people that took recordings on January 3rd of this year are probably the best ones, best examples of this phenomenon. And again, timing, a little sus, but so this is February 1st.
So this orb here is having babies. All these just started flying out as I was driving in home. And they're flying out that thing and they're just dispersing. What the fuck? It's gone.
So anyway, that's the last video as far as the that kind of stuff goes. So there you go. That's what I've got for today. I mean, at least at the minimum, you could say that the Denver airport and the Denver area is kind of a strange place right now. And at least it's since, geez, can't use my words. Okay, John, settle down. Use your words. At least since the Denver airport was built. And again, I think where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think there's a lot of weight behind some of these conspiracies, some of these ideas of, some of it's right in your face. So it's not like it's disputable. It's there. It's in front of your face. And the choice of symbolism and the choice of what they're putting as a public facing or a front facing image for the airport leads you to think, again, it kind of has CERN vibes, the whole, again, Shiva, and there's a lot going on, folks, and it's a wonderful time to be alive. It actually is super exciting because a lot of the stuff we have access to, things that we didn't have access to 20 years ago or 15 years ago or even 10 years ago. Information's available immediately. That could be a good thing and a bad thing, because disinformation can spread pretty quick, just as much as the truth. So again, just use your discernment. Don't believe anything I tell you. I'm just showing you some things I think are interesting, and make your own decisions, make your own judgment on what's going on. So that's it for this show. Leave me a comment if this kind of resonates with you, or if you live in the Denver area and you've seen some things or heard some things or whatever, by all means, leave a comment. Open ideas about show topics. As I mentioned, Edgar Casey's one of them. There's a few others that I've kind of kept on the back burner, but I'm not going to, do at this particular juncture, because I think they're very hard truths for some people, and I don't want to just dive right in with that. What is the saying? You could attract more bees with honey, kind of thing. So anyway, I appreciate you being here. I would appreciate it if you give me a follow if you don't already follow. Share this with friends or people that you think might be interested in the comments, or the content, I should say. So hope you have a wonderful day, and until next time, Mighty Hog out.